Well, I already read that! Thank you! Oh my gosh. No. Believe! Sorry. The phrase "vote with your wallet" entered the public consciousness in this era, elevating the act of spending money from unfortunate necessity to civic virtue. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Small Steps Towards Making a Difference. I'm Megan, a licensed biology and environmental science teacher. I talk to you about environmental issues, and at the end, I give you a task to try out to help you make a difference with regards to them. I'm going to bring up products that have helped me live a more sustainable life. Whenever somebody talks to you about buying something, alarm bells should go off in your head, right? If they do, you've got good instincts. However, in this video, we're going to talk about the importance of voting with your dollar, which involves limiting your spending or shifting your spending with regards to products you use frequently. For example, I'm going to use shampoo for the remainder of my life, probably, so that's a reoccurring purchase I want to be intentional about. Disclaimer, I spend money on things that aren't the best. Like I told you before, and I'll say it again, I am a bi-monthly frequenter of McDonald's, if not a little bit more. I also make a lot of purchases from Amazon. So with regards to voting with my dollar, I am an amateur at best. That doesn't mean I don't see the importance of it though, and I think I can do a pretty good job of illustrating that to you. And the point of this channel is meeting people where they are. I'm not making this for the experts of the world. I'm making it for the people who, like me, are very imperfect and just want to try and do a little bit better each day. Another disclaimer, even more important than voting with your dollar is actually voting, so make sure you do that if you don't already, and keep the environment in mind when you do so. We know that this country is built on capitalism, but I think what we don't talk about as much is how deeply tied to consumerism it is. And now you may say capitalism, consumerism, the same thing. But if we start using that word consumerism more, maybe we can acknowledge just how deeply rooted it is in our consciousness, because we often see capitalism as this thing outside of ourselves, right? It's over there. That's the government, not created by me. But we are active consumers each and every single day. So if we use that phrase consumerism and try and use that a little bit more, hopefully it'll allow us to be in the narrative a bit more and to keep ourselves in touch with reality, really. So I'm going to give you 2 recommendations in this video of things that you should definitely check out after this. One is going to be the story of stuff. It's a video on YouTube, and I'll provide the link down below. And the other is this book that I started reading to at the beginning. It's called Garbology. It was a required reading for me when I was doing my senior thesis in college. Really incredible, explains just how tied we are to creating waste in America and where that came from, because it's not like we were born with it. It's not like in the Constitution it said these people are going to create a lot of waste. Okay, now if you're a 90s baby like me, you may have assumed for a very long time that consumerism was the lifeblood of America, and that it had always been that way. That's ridiculous, so where did it come from? To briefly sum this up, the 1950s and 60s were a big turning point for America. We were just about healed from World War II and the Depression, and as Edward Humes puts it, this was the moment in which the Depression-era version of the American dream, which held that hard work, diligent savings, and conserving resources paved the road to a good life, began to fade, surpassed by the notion that the highest expression and measurement of the American dream lay in material wealth itself, the acquisition of stuff. The senior editor of Sales Management magazine chronicled this when he wrote in 1960 that American companies and media outlets were working together to, quote, create a new breed of super customers. A popular media journal of the day went further, suggesting the mission of marketers had to be centered on the fact that wearing things out does not produce prosperity, but buying things does. Any plan that increases consumption is justifiable. Even President Eisenhower was caught up in the fervor, suggesting that shopping was tantamount to a patriotic act. When asked at a press conference what he thought people should buy to bolster the economy during a brief, mild recession, the president responded, "Buy anything." if you were to see ads from around this time, you might see what I mean. As they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Municipal waste was only 0.4% plastic by weight in 1960. Our trash cans had almost no plastic inside them back then, but that began to change rapidly. By the end of the 60s, plastic trash had increased 7-fold. By the year 2000, American households were throwing away 63 times as much plastic as in 1960, and nearly 11% of the stuff in our bins each week was made of synthetic miracle polymers. Now, the word miracle is used very intentionally there. Plastic was seen as a magic miracle back then, and we largely still treat it like it is today. The only difference is that now we know a lot more about the consequences of plastic on our environment and within our bodies. That's for another video, though. Long story short is that consumption became a virtue in the late 1950s and early 60s, and if you don't believe that that's enough of a force to corrupt the American government, then you're sadly mistaken. And we act surprised that planned obsolescence is a thing. I've heard a few people over the course of my life say that the phrase vote with your wallet is bogus. I'll admit that they're coming from a different background than I have. I know nothing about economics. But you can't deny the fact that we've had near brainwashing influences over the past several decades screaming at us to buy, buy, buy. Bernie seems to be the only big-name politician brave enough to admit it. And probably AOC, because it seems like she can do no wrong. You also can't deny the fact that taking your business away from corporations that don't represent your values does something to them, and more importantly, to you. Let me give you an example. I told you in my previous video that when it comes to environmental value systems, I'm shifting more towards biocentrism. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch that video. So for me, with makeup, I'm not a huge makeup person. However, because I've shifted more towards this biocentrism perspective, I've gone, wait, why am I not using all vegan makeup? I don't want any of my makeup to be tested on animals. I don't think it's nearly important enough for that. I've made a big, clear intention to shift my makeup needs away from generalized makeup, Maybelline, all those expensive brands, and shift towards makeup brands that do no testing on animals and use vegan products. And that's made a big difference for me. Every time I put on that makeup, I'm reminded of the choice I made. If you're still not buying that your dollar makes a difference, just look at the Beyond Meat industry. I became a vegetarian in 2015, and I have seen this field explode. The plant-based food industry is worth between $5 and $7 billion, and it is expected to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 19.3% between 2022 and 2030. Sales grew 27% last year and 43% in the last 2 years. On a practical level, let me talk to you about a weekly decision that I make. So where I live, there's a Fred Meyer right across the street from New Seasons, and I have more frequently gone to Fred Meyer because what it boils down to is comfort and routine. So something I'm gonna try and do is not go to Fred Meyer anymore unless I really need to. Small note, I love New Seasons because if you're not ready to go full on to all of those brand names that you aren't familiar with and you still like some of the big brand names, they still do carry a lot of those, so you can transition a little slower. I know it's expensive. I know. Oh, do I know. Now, I've dipped my toe into a lot of topics that I promise we will come back to later, but the bottom line is this. When it comes to how you spend your money, you have power. It may not be a lot of power, but it's a little bit of power. And you can wield that power however you want. Not all of your purchases are going to be good, but not all of your purchases have to be bad either. They all have an impact. So what are some reoccurring purchases that you could shift around a little bit? Maybe you could even shift them around to bring you more joy. Or maybe there's some shifts that you won't even notice. Your task is simple. Buy something that you think will make a difference with regards to the environment, or if I've turned you off from shopping for the entire day, think of a company or a product that you really don't need in your life and cut it out. Don't make it a big one. These are small steps, so start small. I would much rather have you choose something small that you don't notice than pick a big company and say something like, I'm going to cut out all of Kraft, and then realize that you go back on that in a week. Then I'll give you a third option. Make a vow to go to a grocery store that is a little bit better for the environment or a little bit more socially conscious, like New Seasons, and do your best to really increase your trips there. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, or subscribe, it means the world to me. Have a great day. Please don't forget to do the task before heading on to the next video. Bye, guys.